Welcome back, everyone. It's DestinysJesus here. In this video, we're looking at how Gambit TOOSE is able to W key so successfully and what he's doing to get these really high kill consistent placements in these solo cash cups. As you can see, he's placed 6th in 2 of the cash cups this season and he's keying really hard while doing so. So let's get straight into this. Make sure to like on the video and make sure to subscribe as well. So in the first mid-game fight of this cash cup, what TOOSE is doing is just driving around a car trying to find people, and once he finds somebody in the car, what he does is swap into the other seat, look out the window, and this guy's obviously trying to scout for the car to see if they're just rotating past, and he just gets a free beam on the guy to actually open the fight. And obviously opening a fight with damage advantage is really important in these solo cash cups. From there, TOOSE does some 90s up, cones the guy and actually gets high ground, and then at this point he just approaches the box from above. And one thing that's really important when you're approaching a box from above is obviously to get the cone control, but don't necessarily try to replace. Wait for the other player to make a counter at it, just like this. You can see here, he's playing around a somewhat round peak with the cone here, waits for the guy to go for the counter peak, gets a bit of damage in, and at this point he just commits into the box since he's got a pepper on. Backwards ramps to actually force the aim duel, as you can see here, and then gets a really easy hit on this other player. Another thing that TOOSE actually does quite a lot is just trying to find fights to third party, and if you catch somebody build fighting in a third party like this and you get the right timing window, you can easily just chop out. As you can see here, he chops out just 3 wood walls holding all these guys up, and he gets 2 limbs and then gets pretty stacked here. Fortunately, the next fight he actually takes, he loses just because he plays his angles a little bit improperly and he rushes straight into the box, which I'll show you. As you can see, he rushed into trying to get towards that guy. As he keys over, he tries to go for a counter peek too soon on this other player. So you can see here, he tries to go for a counter peek, and this is just something that you can do. However, a lot of times in the laggy servers, it's not really recommended. You'll probably just better off just wasting your mats, getting your heals off, rather than trying to go for a counter peek. So he obviously gets the damage, but at that point, the guy just exploits into his box and eliminates him. Not the best first game, but let's go into his next game, where he got 10 kills. So this next off-spawn fight, TOOSE is actually on low HP, and this other player just running towards him with attacks. As you can see here, one thing he does really well is backing up the entire way to understand that he needs to play range versus this guy with attacks. So you can see here, he edits the guy's floor, places the wall, keeps backing up and just reversing this entire time, and then gets a really easy elimination just by taking a trade shot. Really good understanding how he can win with his range and understanding his advantages in a fight. This fight here is a perfect example of how to play when somebody's jumping in your box. You can see this other player's acting really aggressive, hasn't even got any information on TOOSE, and he gets into his box. At this point, TOOSE decides to make space backwards away from the guy and keep him full box. So you can see here, he takes his time, he wants to wait to the guy's tack shots, as you can see. He waits several times, goes for the full box, and the guy tries to go for that bottom right hand peak, which normally works out in your favor, and you won't get damaged at all. But again, you can see how diligent he is and just making space, making sure the guy's staying full box this entire time. And at this point, gets a 100 tag, holds the floor again, gets into 1 HP, holds the floor to trap him in again, and then gets the elim. Obviously, other players acting extremely aggressively, but that's something you can replicate your own gameplay. All you do when somebody's aggressing you like that, make space backwards and make sure they don't get into a 50-50 situation, and then play your angles to your favour. This is a really nice angle that TOOSE does once he's got somebody's full boxed. So you can see here, he's got the guy elevated up on a cone, does a top 3 edit, jumps up and gets that initial tag on the guy as he's running around on the cone. And at this point, what he does is actually wait for the guy to go for the wall replace. Obviously, other players full box at this point, they're going to try to panic and go for the wall replace. So TOOSE comes close, holds the wall once, and as soon as he's held it once, what he does is this exact same edit. He crouches below it, as you can see here. This forces the guy to panic and shoot and actually break the wall, and then TOOSE gets a really simple elim just by jumping up after the guy's broken the wall. I've already talked about once in this video, but going for chop outs on fights to basically save time and get to the next one as quick as possible and save mats is really effective. So when you do it, make sure that you go ahead and move out of the initial chop out zone. So you can see here, TOOSE moves out of the way, jumps up, gets an unexpected angle on this guy, and because of the fact that all of these walls are pre-edited over this way and this guy cannot connect to them at all, he's only held up by this one floor. He shoots out, gets a really free angel after that, and finishes the fight pretty quick and gets max mats and a pretty good setup for a game with 2 pads. This is some really beautiful box fighting by TOOSE. So you can see he sets up below this guy, goes for the floor replace on him, and at this point a lot of players make the mistake of going for the cone replace and trying to edit the guy down. But TOOSE is ahead of this guy, he immediately knows that he's going to try to hold the stair, so what he does is place the stair backwards in his box, as you can see there, and with that floor edit he pulls perfectly down into 50-50, takes the 100 tag, resets the wall, and waits for the guy's pump shot. As soon as he's shot the pump and hasn't replaced the wall, then TOOSE opens up a wide edit and jumps into the aim duel, knowing he's going to 100% win that, and gets a really nice refresh again just before endgame. One thing that TOOSE is really good at is when he approaches the box, he never puts himself into a bad situation where he can get damaged. You can see here this kind of weird angle where he's playing versus the other player, and as he sets up on the wall, obviously double swing straight away, but as soon as he knows the other player is likely to go for a counter attack, he sets up fully, goes for this arc and wall replace from the right hand peak, blocks off the top angle as well, and he's just so diligent to making sure the other player can't ever run out on him, and also making sure the other player can't go for any counter damage while TOOSE has this little bit of advantage. The other guy goes to full HP, TOOSE gets his advantage back just by playing from a high angle on top of the ramp, going for this really unique peek here, which actually works really well. A lot of times players will edit instantly after getting tagged, so this peek here is really good to counter that. And again, as soon as the other player falls into it, he just drops down onto the right hand peak, and he spends a long period of time just playing around this right hand peak, not overcommitting into the wall place, baiting his pickaxe swing several times here, and he doesn't want to rush this fight. He just wants to burn through other guys' mats. He knows he's already killed one guy at Slurpee, so he wants to take this fight as slow as possible. Gets the crack damage in here finally, as the other player tries to hold the wall with no mats. And at this point, TOOSE drops down onto the wall, as you can see. Cone slides before he breaks the wall, gets the wall replaced as well. Other guys full boxes at the back box. TOOSE just hits a jump up shot and gets a really easy Zealand. So this next fight is again another long fight, but it's a lot of really important fighting tips that TOOSE shows. So you can see here he's approaching this other guy's box from above. What he's going to go ahead and do is replace the cone, and he sees other players acting quite aggressive, trying to spray down with the AR. He's already read the other players' kind of fight behavior, so you can see he's going to wait again for the guy to go for that AR replace. You can see last time the guy sprayed his AR, he actually replaced the floor, and he's going to do the exact same thing here. So you can see he starts spraying again. TOOSE, it lags a little bit, but he gets a 100 tag on this guy, commits into his box and tries to W him at this point. The other guy just reboxes and makes some space upwards. Now here, TOOSE does a correct thing, trying to enchant someone with a choke cannon, obviously want to end the fight as quick as possible, and starts to try to jump in. At this point, the other player reboxes upwards again, so TOOSE has a really nice build sequence. It's a little bit later in the game, so he gets beamed as he does this, but as he double edits down here, he jumps straight into this other guy's top righty, but he still manages to land a 100 tag. Just because he's positioning himself in the middle of the cone, he was quite elevated on the cone there, he still gets that 100 tag. After getting hit to low HP, obviously you don't just keep W-keying somebody at this late in the game. He full heals up, goes on ahead and approaches again, and at this point he's a lot more diligent on making sure he's blocking off all his angles. You can see here, he builds completely around himself, covers this angle here, plays for this right hand peak again, which is a really nice angle for you guys that know about it. Playing from a right hand peak like this, he gets a free tag in and then crouches underneath the guy's timing shot. Now he comes into the wall place, gets the wall this time, goes for the cone slide as well while the guy's going for a timing shot. And as this guy's going for the timing shot, you can see TOOSE swings to the left, making sure that he misses his shot completely, gets him elevated on the cone, gets a really nice Zealand, and gets a choke cannon and pad. This next fight is around a 50-50 zone. You can see TOOSE is actually blueprint battling another guy. One thing whenever you go for these kind of blueprint battles is to make sure you go for the timing when they're trying to hold the wall. So you can see this other guy spraying, obviously don't edit and try to go for the wall place at that time. So you can see as soon as the other guy looks away and tries to start faffing around on his box with the stair, that's when TOOSE goes to the wall place. He does it with shotgun from a distance, so obviously it doesn't take as long to break with his AR, and he can catch the guy off guard. So he shotgun replaces it, does a really top wide edit like this, the 6-tile edit, catches the guy completely off guard. Again, shotgun breaks his stair to actually get damage on him, and the guy falls underneath his stair and he gets a really easy him. Honestly, if you're very aggressive towards 50-50 zone like this, trying to go for these blueprint edits, and you know how to do them properly and efficiently, and you go for the shotgun replaces, it is one of the best strats to get a refresh just before endgame, which is something TOOSE really needed in this game. This isn't necessarily a W key tip, but it's a pretty useful mechanic to know. It's basically how to do these kind of low bounce pads with a regular launch pad. So you can see here he's fighting this guy back in Storm. He's going to end up really deep in Storm, and in these high elo lobbies, after you kill someone backside, somebody good on front side will probably take height. So you can see here, as you come forward, somebody else is going for a front side height take. So what does TOOSE do to counter this? Obviously padding out Storm like this or trying to run in is probably going to get you killed. So he does actually place a floor extended over his head just like that, as you can see. Then he's going to go ahead and launch pad forward, get the little bounce shot, maybe get some damage on the guy. And at this point, he's got all the mats in the refresh deep in Storm. He can play low ground for a second here, and then he's going to go ahead and just a height take from front side on the other player with no mats. So as you guys have seen throughout this video, TOOSE is really good at understanding his angles. As this other guy jumps into his box, the purple tack, one thing that he does is it makes space outwards, place a cone, hold the wall once for the guy to go for the break since the wall is 1 HP. As soon as he's going to fight, he's going to edit right hand window, crouch completely behind the cone, and then pop up on that right hand peak and get a 300 tag. And you can see from the other guy's perspective how difficult it is for him to line up a shot on TOOSE because he's playing completely behind the cone. As you can see, he's moving around trying to make it awkward for him to get hit with a gold tack, and TOOSE is just perfectly landing those right hand peaks and basically takes no damage in this fight versus the other player. So this is a really good default setup that you can do when you're approaching to box fight somebody. Basically create a right hand peak for yourself with the stair and the wall edit that he does here. Then the other player has no chance to go for a counter shot on you because you're completely protected, and you can still go for the wall place with your AR. Never get close enough to pickaxe swing because obviously then the player can run out on you. So you can see here, he goes to the wall place, gets it first try, then gets a little bit of damage, gets a 100 tag, and at this point he's got everything. Now he's closed the distance, he's got close to this other player, and he's just going to go for an instant replace and get the kill as they are at the same time. So this is really useful piece control and exploits that you can do while hunting down somebody who's on low HP. So you can see here, this other player's reboxing after TOOSE hit him 100, goes ahead and position himself on the cone like this, so you can basically exploit him through the floor, and all you need to do this is position yourself like this, crouch, and as the other player's holding it, if you just press space and your feet will basically phase through the floor and you go straight into the box. Other player decides to get out of the box in time and TOOSE phased the cone. At this point, TOOSE just continuously phases the cone versus other player, keeping him trapped in the box, making sure that he can't leave the box, because as soon as he does, TOOSE will be able to take the wall and go for a shot on him. Finally, he's able to get the wall replaced after phasing in the cone one more time, then he gets a free tag on the guy just by hunting him down and non-stop going for those piece control as he's making space. It's really important whenever somebody's running away to try to go for those extended cones or ramps into the box to actually trap them and prevent them from leaving as well.